Welcome to the webinar, Social Selling in this New World of Social Distancing. I'm Kelly Stark, and my partner is Diane Williamson, and we thought this would be a great time to talk about this new world of marketing and sales and how you could actually use the social media tools now to overcome this hurdle that we have because we can't go to face-to-face meetings or trade shows or any of the other sales techniques that we used to do. I've been in this business for over 20 years, and my partner, Diane, she started in the business with the Richardson Agency. She's a graphic designer, and then she's moved into also the client side with roles at Ericsson, CommScope, Globe Ranger for the RFID people. So she's worn both hats, and so together we've kind of seen what types of issues are out there, and we're looking forward to talking to you about this new technique of social selling. First of all, let me just introduce Forward Vision Marketing. We're a unique agency because a lot of us come from engineering backgrounds and we're marketers with a lot of high-tech experience. So we've decided to focus on technology, and we're dedicated to working with B2B companies to deliver a whole service of marketing strategies and to really measure our results. For instance, this is a lot of the different portfolio of activities that we provide. And what I typically show new prospects is, if you're one person marketing department, or maybe even you're a sales manager trying to do marketing and sales, you're having to wear so many different hats and it's almost impossible. In fact, at our company, we just have experts in SEO and an expert in PR and so on, because no one can be an expert in all these areas. So our agency can help you in each one of these areas. And once again, we don't think you should have to wear this hat alone. Today, we're just going to go over a little bit about what is social selling and why it's important. We're going to talk about the LinkedIn algorithm and how you can help boost your posts. Diane's going to go over some LinkedIn tips and tricks and the communication channels for that. And finally, we're going to really get into a method of social selling with trying to reach out to LinkedIn second connections. So first of all, on the left is the old sales model, and we've just had to adapt to a new sales model, and that was happening anyway. So no longer are we doing cold calls and then having to, eventually get to be in front of people and do a demo. It's now all about using your social network and engaging with people before you even have a face-to-face meeting, educating them through your social media feeds and blogs and articles. And so by using this new social model, you guys are gonna actually be forced now to launch into what the future was trending into anyways. Aberdeen recently did a study, and they found that they measured the typical social or sales KPIs or key performance indicators to look at, was these social networks really helping? And in a study that they did, they found that people were able to get their quota at a higher level when they were using social selling. They were actually able to renew their customers even at a higher rate because they're more and more engaged with them. And so therefore they were even able to be more accurate in their forecast. So these are real measurements that people have seen using social selling. But the problem is still only 1 out of 4 salespeople are really using LinkedIn or social media for selling. There's all kinds of great stats on why they should be using it, but I think it's just getting into that practice of using this tool. For instance, we know that the research is showing that it was reducing your contact time by a tremendous amount, increasing your leads. It's being able to get to deeper relationships with clients, because a lot of times you're getting to share a little bit more about your interests, your hobbies, your family, and it's able to then produce more leads with a shorter cycle. So the benefits are there. And here's just a look at the different platforms. And this is the research that Forrester Group put together on the age demographics by different platforms. And you can even see that YouTube and Facebook are by far the largest visited platforms. However, we found, and most of the other research has looked at, that LinkedIn primarily and then somewhat Twitter are more what the B2B platforms are using. And then I'm going to hand this over to Diane to explain a little bit more why we're going to focus on LinkedIn.
As Kelly mentioned, 78% of people have a social media profile. 45% of LinkedIn article readers are in upper level management, yet 18% share content regularly. So why so few people? Well, we did a recent survey with one of our clients that showed 96% of their employees have a LinkedIn account, and 50% of those employees have relationships with customers on LinkedIn, but they're not using the power of LinkedIn for social selling. We find this is an untapped area for sellers, not because it's not effective, but because they're not aware of the effectiveness of the platform and also how to use it. Once we show them how to benefit from using LinkedIn to sell, they're increasing their success rate with their prospects. And LinkedIn for companies helps amplify that message for a next to nothing cost. So, why not give it a try? If you take a look at the audience, LinkedIn has over 575 million users with more than 200 million monthly active users. Of those, 61 million are influencers and 40 million are decision makers. So from a B2B perspective, LinkedIn is really the way to go. A research study commissioned by Dell found out that 75% of B2B purchases are influenced by social media, and 57% make buying decisions before a sales rep is involved. And of those, 62% check out their sales reps on LinkedIn before they buy from them. 97% of calling is no longer working anymore. So where are people spending their time? People are spending their time on their networks, but they're also investing time in LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an especially good source for discovering leads. A HubSpot study found that LinkedIn is 277% more effective at generating leads than any other platform like Facebook or Twitter. Of those, 79% of B2B marketers say that social marketing is an effective channel, with 80% of B2B leads coming from the LinkedIn channel. So for B2B, LinkedIn really is the right place to be. So Kelly, I think I'm going to hand over to you to talk a little bit more about the algorithms of LinkedIn.
All right, so this is something that most people don't really realize, the importance of liking and reposting and commenting on different posts, especially their company posts. And this kind of shows the algorithm that the LinkedIn bots are using to show what content they need to post and promote and which one they need to delete. So let's look at the filter one. You go ahead and you decide to put some content out there, share a post. It goes through a very, low-level spam filter, and you're able to then move to the next, if it's not flagged for inappropriate words, maybe go to more of a universal content feed on your profile or your company profile. If people start engaging with that content, then it gets triggered as this must be good content. And actually LinkedIn use human editors to kind of then promote and say, hey, check this content out. Do we want to leave this as a longer content? Or is this triggering and perhaps this content is not good, therefore we want to discontinue this content. So the more and more people are engaging and liking and sharing this content, this feed could actually be promoted and lasting for over a week on someone's feed. On the other social media platforms, you would not get to see that type of lasting content and stickiness of those posts. However, if you have somebody, I want to show on the left there, if someone's starting to hide your post or unfollow you or report this post, this is going to hurt you. And the LinkedIn bots are going to start to say, oh, okay, don't show this content anymore. And in fact, maybe even flag you as a user. So I think it's very important, if you do have somebody in your network that by chance is doing this, maybe you need to not keep them in your network and or alert them to say, hey, you're hurting my posts. And then really quick, I wanted to go into another way to really get and use LinkedIn as a social selling tool, and that's through advertising. There's two types of ads, and I've kind of pointed out to the left here that the yellow sponsored ads, if you have a really good post, maybe a white paper that you're promoting, a webinar, you're going to want to go ahead and invest a little bit into sponsoring that post to reach maybe your prospect audience, not just your followers. And then the other type is the text ads. You see that on the far right, and those are smaller, little tiny box window, a picture, and a very limited amount of text that you're able to provide for those. We've seen more people go to the sponsored posts, and both of those, you have this great ability with LinkedIn to be able to select your audience. So there's a demographic selection, so you can look at location, age, gender, and then there's a very great useful tool for B2B people looking at which type of companies either, or maybe an industry in general. What are the job titles of these people, interest, seniority level. So this is going to be very useful for you in trying to target your audience with your messages. And then from there, you can do A/B testing, test out different images, calls to action, and setting a budget either on cost per click or cost per impressions. We do this for several of our clients, and it's a very useful tool. And Diane, why don't you go on and tell us a little bit more about the tips and tricks of LinkedIn?
Sure. So really, why LinkedIn? LinkedIn is the most powerful prospecting tool because of its incredible database. Researching companies and people pages are an ideal way to identify prospects you'd like to meet, and then through LinkedIn's networking, share connections that can introduce you. So some of the benefits for a company obviously are brand exposure, highlighting the expertise of their employees, and it's a huge driver for website traffic as well. But for individuals, the ability to use social selling to tap into that huge database. It's a professional networking place. Today, I think it's going to become the trade show. We're not out there, going to trade shows, but you're still able to meet people and connect with people on the LinkedIn site. It's also a dynamic profile for you. So for a salesperson, we're really talking about going from the old LinkedIn profiles, which were more resume, to being more resource. So a sales professional's LinkedIn profile is really like their landing page. Therefore, it shouldn't just be, like I said, a simple resume. Your LinkedIn profile needs to be constructed in a way that attracts, teaches, and engages with the audience. The ultimate goal is to get the right people to raise their hands and say, hey, let's talk. So engagement and education are really, really key. Some of the best practices, for LinkedIn, I'm just going to highlight 5 really key ones, which is to be yourself, be useful, be interesting, be relevant, and also to be authentic. And you can do those things by sharing announcements, talking about professional achievements, when you're at events or launches or have relevant product information to share, go ahead and share that. Also have some fun. The ways you can support other people and connect with your network are congratulating or thanking people and tagging people, sharing expert insights and testimonials, also asking questions on other people's posts. You can do that. Frequency, length, one of the nicer things about LinkedIn, it doesn't limit you like Twitter does to a certain number of characters. So you have a little bit more freedom there. Photos, again, people like visuals, so that's great. And you can also, in addition to doing photos, you see a lot of videos now right on LinkedIn. So that's really great. You can do a text post. You can do, like I said, photos. You can embed links. You can share posts. And you can also do LinkedIn articles. So there's just lots of different ways that you can be sharing things. Some things that we kind of caution people not to do, don't be negative, don't argue, don't overpost, overcommit, or overshare. Don't speak on the behalf of someone or something. And also, think about the time, so great times that we found for our clients to post are around 8 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. Those are really good times. And we encourage people to spend at a minimum at least 5 minutes a day or 30 minutes a week, but you can certainly spend a lot more time than that. So what's the best type of content to share? More than 50% of B2B buyers seek out information on products and services on social media. The most popular type of content they seek out is white papers. 49% of B2B buyers consume white papers when they're evaluating a technology purpose. So this is really key for the technology space. However, it doesn't mean that you can't share content if you haven't created a white paper. In fact, many times it's more genuine to share content that is not considered self-promotional from your company. This is a great opportunity to finally work together with your sales and your marketing teams to get into alignment. And together you can create and share content that's based on questions, comments, and topics and posts that are relevant to your social network. So now I wanted to show you for those, because surprisingly, a lot of salespeople are not using LinkedIn. So I'm going to go through a couple slides here that are going to show you ways in which you can share different information. So here on the left-hand side, we have an article about AT&T and OpenRotom. And you'll notice in a lot of these articles, or when you're on news sites, you'll see these share buttons. So you would just click on a LinkedIn share button, which will actually pop up a window, and it's going to allow you to share that as a post in your LinkedIn feed. Or, for example, you might want to share it privately with a customer or another colleague or a prospect that you're working with that, this post is relevant to them. So you would go ahead and make that selection, and then it'll pop up yet another window where you have the opportunity to type in a message or a comment, depending on whether you're sharing it in the post or if you're going to send it as a private message. Another way you can share is also from within LinkedIn. So in this case, Fujitsu posted this particular article and it showed up in my LinkedIn feed. I can click on the share button there at the bottom, and it'll take me to another window, which will allow me to share that to my feed. Another thing that you can do, which is also really helpful and goes along with that LinkedIn algorithm that Kelly talked about earlier, is say I want to share a webinar and I want to tag a person or I want to tag a company. In this particular case, I've clicked shared, and as I'm typing in and I want to share, I want to highlight that Kelly Stark is involved with this. So I hit the @ sign, I start typing Kelly's name, and I get a list of people that are in my network that I could tag. So I've tagged Kelly here, and you'll notice over on the right-hand side, it's going to show Kelly's name in blue, which will allow people to click on that and go to her profile page. And here's some examples of utilizing LinkedIn well. On the left-hand side, we have a CEO message who's kind of sending out a personal message out there on a business trip. In the center here, we have kind of a fun share post company talking about how Star Trek inspired them to pursue their career in technology. And then over on the right-hand side, you have a company, CommScope, that is taking their virtual courses. So they're being relevant at a time when people are sheltering in place and providing free virtual courses to people. So great ways of sharing content on LinkedIn. The next thing I want to talk about is hashtags. So hashtags are really important. They are great ways to have your post show up on other feeds and allows you to do a lot of different things. So the first thing you have to be able to do is you have to be able to make what you're doing public. So when you type in a post, you can choose, if it's a private or who gets to see it. So obviously, if you're a company and you wanting to promote your company, you want everybody to be able to see it. You don't want to limit it. You want to keep things professional. It does help optimize your profile. And then you can also associate hashtags with your page. As you can see down here at the bottom, these are recent hashtags that I've gone ahead and used on my website. You don't want to hashtag every word. So you can see here in the post here by Capriccio, she just has one hashtag there for Team Ericsson. It's a kind of a short post, but that's a great way of doing it. You don't want to use popular acronyms like, did you know? You want to not do that. You want to, if you're going to an event, you want to hashtag that event so that you'll be showing up in that events feed on their LinkedIn page. The other thing that you can do too, up in the search bar, you can type in a hashtag. So, if you wanted to on your own, you can type in hashtag social distancing, and you'll see how many people are following that and how many people have that coming up in their LinkedIn feeds. So that would be really, relevant if you were talking about something about social distancing. But you can also see if nobody's following that. Say, I typed in, green desk chairs, and maybe that's not something people are following. So you may not want to use that hashtag in your feed. LinkedIn will also suggest hashtags for your posts, and you can just click on those. So that's really great. You can hashtag in companies, hashtag in your comments, and then use the @ symbol when you want to have a direct link show up in your comment for a company, or like I just showed you how you could do with Kelly's name. Another thing that we also recommend for companies and people to do is to come up with a list of hashtags that you like to use, and continue to use them. So a lot of times we have, maybe anywhere from 3 to 10 different hashtags that we'll use for a particular industry or something like that. And you can keep using those in your posts. Okay, so why, again, just to kind of finish this part out, why is it so important? So number one, shared content reaches more people. If each of us is sharing our company content, we're reaching significantly more customers' eyes than marketing could reach just by itself. Thousands of people are seeing our content as more of us are committed to sharing. Number two, you want to help build your professional brand. It's one thing to be part of someone's network. It's another to appear regularly in their feed. Number three, shared content is more credible content. When somebody receives content from an individual, the content feels more exclusive and therefore is seen as more valuable. And then four, adding commentary to the post allows you to bring out relevance, add insight, or simply recognize value. It establishes you as a co-creator and as an expert. Number five, shared content is more likely to be shared again. Number six, sharing content helps your expertise evolve, making sure you're reading what your company is posting and staying connected delivers personal benefits for you as well. And lastly, social selling. When LinkedIn analyzed the characteristics of different sales reps engaged in social selling, we found that the most successful share, 23%, with more content than the rest, sharing more content than the rest, are likely to be 51% to hit their quotas. So that's a big reason. If you're out there selling, you want to be successful, you want to hit your quotas, and people that do social selling and sharing posts are 51% more likely to hit their quotas.
So let's dive into a little bit more about how to do social selling. And part of those tips and tricks are definitely part of it. But I'm going to go diving down into prospecting and actually getting into targeting the companies that you want to follow. So number one is, I'm sure you guys have done the LinkedIn searches over here, and you can type in certain job titles, companies, industries, and filter out what types of companies you want to live without even buying the LinkedIn Navigator tool and prospecting tools. These are filters that you can go ahead and create a list and start following those companies and engaging with them. That would be number one technique we'd offer for you guys to do is go ahead and just pick out your wish list of companies that you want to follow. You can also, through different tools, get notified when you have new prospects join this group. You can save this search here, and as new companies come in, they may say, hey, you should probably link in with this person because they fit the profile that you're linking in. Number three is LinkedIn groups. So there's a huge advantage of jumping into a LinkedIn group of target prospects, because when you're on that, you are able to reach members that maybe you haven't already connected with. Obviously, you want to implement this social listening strategy where you're not out there blasting about how great your company is. So that's number 4, to go in there and understand what the group is saying and only then jump in. But there's some great stats out there that say that buyers choose sales reps who are adding value during this buying process. So if they're out there looking for something that you provide and you're adding tips and tricks in this industry, they're going to engage with you and they're going to trust you more often in this process. And the great thing about doing this is, I know all of us are busy and maybe now you're having to be a homeschooler as well. So you can prospect during non-pay activities. It's not like having to cold call during certain hours. So that's a huge benefit for LinkedIn. And then finally, we're wanting to look at how you may have relationships with your first connections, but now looking at who they're connected to could provide some great opportunities for you in growing your business. And I'm going to go into a little bit more on how to reach out through those second connections. So what I'm trying to talk about is, obviously you've got your first degree connections of people you're already connected with. But the second degree here are the people that they're connected with. And luckily, you're still able to connect with that second connection directly through LinkedIn. You can message them if they're open to meeting new people, and requested introduction directly. But what I'm going to go more into details is if you actually ask that second connection for the first connection to help you introduce that second connection. And finally, there's the third degree connection. And LinkedIn does offer paid promotions where you can go and do in-mails to those people directly as well. So those are all the different degrees of ways you can use LinkedIn for social selling. I'm going to dive into the second degree connection. So this is the one where, like I said, you are able to reach out directly to people that you aren't connected with already. So that red button's pointing to that connect button, and you can send a message with this. And this works most of the time for me. I can write a message and I like to name drop a little bit who I might be also connected with. And then ask them and say, hey, I would love to follow what you share, but now I'm only able to see it when somebody in my network likes or shares your posts. Would you be willing to connect with me directly? And most times this works as well. And so if I want to just get an immediate reaction, I can go this approach. Next, I'm going to go into asking my first contact to help make a referral to me. So let me go into that slide. And so this is the kind of the steps that we recommend you take. Obviously you first have to have your own LinkedIn network. The next is you have to select what are the demographics for your prospect that you want to. We recommend you actually go ahead and purchase the Sales Navigator tool, because then you can do some great searches for them and really be able to target those people that you're looking for. And from there, you could decide to do it within the tool or contact through email outside the tool to go ahead and reach some of those people. So now we're at the point where you've decided who you're going after and you want to ask your first connection to make a referral. And these are the types of intros. I love to provide some text that you guys can just like cut and paste. So here's some ideas of, hey, I noticed you're connected to John Doe. Do you know John well enough to make an introduction? And then along with that, you could go ahead and say, here's the introduction, a sample intro of myself that I would love you to pass along to your friend there. Or if you're not quite sure whether this person, how you haven't talked to this person in a while, you may even just do this other side and say, hey, are you willing to see how we can help each other? Or, would you be willing to make some introductions for us? And so these are some good talking points. I'd love to just give those out for you guys to have tips on what to use. Here's an example that David Wench, who is on our board, and he focuses just on sales management. He's a pro at this. And so he actually, this is a real live example where he reached out to me, noticed that I was connected to Mandeep Kumar, and asked if I could make an introduction. And in fact, you see a sample introduction that he's included. Hey, I like to build winning sales strategies and so on and so on. So I was able to just easily cut his portion of that email and then message it to my first connection to say, hey, I added a little bit of a personal element to it, but hey, I'd like to introduce you to my friend, David Wench, and go ahead and take his introduction. And then finally, this is such a great way to reconnect with your first connections as well. And so, it's a good time to be able to reward and thank those people, even if you don't even know what happens. If Mandeep never returned back my email or nothing happens from that lead, we recommend you send a thank you card to your first connection to thank you for sending that. I know David liked to include a Starbucks gift card as a small thank you, and he hand wrote the little thank you card, and which is completely new to get now, a handwritten card. So that was really special, and it made me now think about who could I make introductions for him in the future. And that's really the way it works. As we all know, referrals are one of the biggest ways to make sales. And as a marketing company, it's always been hard to help with that because it's always been who you know and those relationships. But now through social media, we're actually able to influence that and use these tools to go ahead and make those referrals. So once again, this is using your old referral network, but now putting it on this social media platform. So just to sum it up here, we're about ready to take questions. The value, once again, is it's going to build some leads from your own network. And now you're investing your network in growing, which will never stop. Just by reaching out to your first connections, and we call them kind of maybe even the cool ones that you haven't talked to in years, that maybe you only saw at the trade shows. Now you're able to kind of build those gaps more on the fact that now we don't get to see each other on these big events. And not just your company brand, but your personal brand within your network is so important. And the fact that you can do this anytime. I think we've all kind of gone through the sales engagement process, but if you guys need help building a better profile, that's something that we help our customers even do, because it's hard to even get there and make your profile good. There's techniques to increase your reach, and we've been talking about reaching out to those second connections and engaging with them. And then finally, it's hard to keep up with providing that content. That's something even that we have an expert on our team that does that for us. So it's important, if you can't do this on your own, that you reach out to try to get this going, because you've invested in the past in your trade shows and the marketing effort to that. This is the same type of thing that you may need some help to keep this ongoing and add this one more task to your very busy life. So let us know if you need more engagement on making this happen for you. We would love to help you with your social media management. I know it's a lot of work to undertake. We're willing to, come in and do custom workshops for your company. And then for a lot of different companies, we just do all their social content management, putting in great graphics daily and posts and engaging with their audience. We could also manage your social media advertising on multiple platforms. And then, if you need sales help and you want to go ahead and engage this as one of your sales platform, we could help you get this set up and focus on that for you. So these are all separate engagement processes. We're offering a package deal, as well as if you guys needed something custom, of course, that's available for you as well. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer them, and we can do that offline. And thank you.